Hi, everybody, and welcome to IUP Football 2017, the Crimson Hawks in action, and what a game it was in the opening game. Welcome to the Coach Paul Tortorella Show. I'm Jack Benedict, and we're going to talk IUP football each and every week. And what a game to talk about, Tort. What a start. It was a great atmosphere, and what a tremendous game. Give me your view of what all that happened there in that game against Ashland. A lot happened.
Yeah, it was, I think, a special night for, the university and the community and the fans, our players, coaches, everybody involved with IUP football. It was a really well-played football game by two really good teams. I mean, Ashland played a great game. It came down to a couple plays at the end, and luckily it went in our favor.
Yeah, you drove right down the field, hurry-up offense, came out with at least a field goal, and then, of course, Ashland comes back, and so you're down at 16-3 after a while. What were the thoughts at that particular point? What was the atmosphere on the sideline?
I think, we talk about no panic in any situation, and it showed. The thing that I understand, defensively in the first game, the hardest time to play defense is the first half of the first game, because everything's happening a lot faster than it normally happens. You're getting a lot of different formations, and they're because they've had all year to prepare for you. And even last year against East Stroudsburg, we did not play very good in the first couple series out there, and it's been like that. I just know from experience that first half on defense is a little bit of a struggle. Mm-hmm. The offense has a little bit of the upper edge, and then you saw in the second half, it totally flipped the other way. But I think the thing we can draw from the game is, we talk about, never be in a panic situation. When we were down 16-3, I think one of the biggest plays of the game, it was 4th and 5 on their 35, and we hit Don McNeil, and he took it, for a touchdown, 25 yards after the catch, and that kind of got us back into it.
Yeah, it really did, and it perked up the offense tremendously, and then you came back, you took a 17-16 lead. The touchdown pass to JoJo came after that. Let's go back to halftime speech. Any rah-rahs in there, or just, I don't think that's the type of thing we probably saw, but you made adjustments, certainly,
right,
and you shut them out in the second half.
Yeah, I think the defensive coaches and the defensive staff, Coach Smith, Coach Leonard, and the Coach Franco's, Coach Zach, they did an outstanding job. There weren't major adjustments, but there were just things that we had to get right that we didn't do right in the first half. We really didn't change anything. It was basically our adjustments to what they were doing. It took a while to get going, and we did what we needed to do in the second half, but it wasn't like we changed the whole game plan.
This was a very good team. We've talked about Ashland. You had mentioned on the pregame too, Coach Owens, fundamentally sound. You could see it. Quarterback, really skilled, veteran. You got a heck of a test from those guys, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that I, had always said about going into this game, playing them, if you were going to win, you're going to have to beat them. They weren't going to beat themselves. And I think that's neither team went into the game and finished the game beating themselves. They took every shot they had to win it. They made us beat them, and if they would have won, we wouldn't have given it to them. We would have made them beat us.
Mm. You had a lot of positives in the game. It was good to see that, of course, it came down to the very end. Their last drive, it looked, they're trying to get that field goal and leave you with very few minutes to go.
Yeah.
John McDonald Horner comes up. You had 2 blocks, and he got a big one for you, didn't he?
Well, when we look at the film, it's hard to tell. We think Jordan Diven might have blocked it.
Is that right?
But we can't, even on the film, it's hard to see who did. If you ask John, he'll say he did, and if you ask Jordan, he'll say he did.
We'll give them both credit.
So they'll both get credit. And this, we have blocked numerous field goals and extra points here in the last 10 years. Probably, I would think, as many as anybody in the country. And that's just sheer effort. It's hard to block an extra point. The team just scored a touchdown on you. You're not real jacked up at that point. Mm-hmm. But our kids believe in it. Coach Leonard does a great job with that unit. We blocked an extra point, and then on that last drive, we knew we had to stop them there, where they were at, and we had to force them to kick a field goal. And we talked about, hey, If we got to use our last time out on third down, we will. They threw a pass, it was incomplete. We were able to really set up our field goal block, and their kicker's one of the best in the country too.
Yeah.
So it worked out at the end, but you try to get all these things done in practice, and we got a lot of them done situationally in practice, and it came down to kind of a last play situation, which we work on in practice.
Okay, so they tried to freeze the kicker, Dylan Sarka, back-to-back timeouts. Was he pretty relaxed?
Here was the situation. Right after they called the first timeout, they came over, and I just looked at Dylan and said, "Take this one back to Ohio with you," because Ashland's whole team are Ohio kids.
Right.
And he kind of gave me the look like, you know what, this guy's really going to make this. I mean, and I've never seen that kind of look from him. He laughed, and you could just tell it in his eyes. He believed he was going to make it. Then after the second time out, Ryan Stewart was standing next to me on the sideline, and he knows those guys better than I know them. And I looked at Ryan, and I said, "Can he make this?" And he said, "Yeah, he has a strong enough leg to make it." And well, the only fear on a long kick like that is the blocking.
The block.
And when it came off his foot and it wasn't blocked, as soon as he hit it, I knew it was good.
Yeah, and he had some yardage.
Yeah, he had 4 or 5 yards to spare. He really hit it. It's like a golf shot. Sometimes you flub it, sometimes you don't hit it, right on the button. He hit it right on the button.
There were a lot of heroes in this game. Certainly he was one of them. But when you look, Lenny Williams welcomed him back, 22 for 38, 230 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Samir Bullock gives you the running game. He goes 200 yards in the game on 25 carries. You had mentioned before, we have to learn to run the ball and stop the run. You did both.
Yeah. Well, there was a stat the other day that came out, I think, from the Sports Information Office that we're like 75-3 when we rush for 200 yards.
Amazing.
And we rushed for 234, I think. So, that shows that offensively, even though the game's changed so much, if we can rush the ball for 200 yards, we got a pretty good chance to win.
I'd say Alan Wright had a pretty good game too. 9 catches, 102 yards, and you're without Walt Pegues. So he fits in. I mean, he's an amazing athlete, isn't he?
Well, we were not only Walt, but Chris Woosner, too.
True.
So Alan is special with the ball in his hands. A lot of those passes he caught were short throws, and he's like having a running back with the ball in his hands. He is really special with the ball in his hands. And, I don't know, but out of the 100 and some yards he had, probably 70 of them were after the catch. And we've got a lot of guys. Like somebody asked me about how Lenny didn't run the ball much, and my answer was, when he's running it, then we're not giving it to Samir Bullock, who's our best running back. When he's running it, we're not throwing the ball to all these wideouts that we have. So Lenny doesn't have to run it anymore. And my thing was, Lenny's a quarterback now. He's not just an athlete playing quarterback.
Yeah, well, I know before we came here, he was studying film right back in the classroom. Give us an update on the Chris Wiesner and Walt Pegues injuries.
We think we can maybe get both of them back for the 4th game against Edinburgh. That's kind of the early prognosis. But, the great thing about it, we have about 7 to 8 other wideouts that are pretty good. And, you never want to see injuries, but I guess if there was one position where we could kind of recover, it's the receiver position. I
didn't bring up defense. You've been a defensive man all your life. But we had Takai Turner, who, had a tremendous game. But talk about the defense overall. You had a couple of sacks thrown in, too.
Yeah. I think field position was huge in this game. Anytime offensively we got the ball on our 30 or better, they never stopped us. At the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter, there was 4 drives in a row. We had over 75 yards in each drive. The other way on defense in the first half, after the kick return and the punt return, we were on a short field on defense. I mean, I think they scored 2 touchdowns. The drives were like 45 yards or less. So we were kind of not put in great situations defensively. And it's early, first half of a game, first game of the year. It's tough enough on defense. And, we didn't have a lot of field to cover. I mean, we were kind of backed up a little bit. and we just kind of, the one touchdown, we busted a check that, you know, two of the guys didn't get. The other touchdown, we had the quarterback sacked and he got out of it. So, you know, and there's 9 starters back on that offense for Ashland. You know, 4 senior offensive linemen that have been starting for a long time, a quarterback that's a 4-year starter, who going into our game had only lost 5 games in 3 years. Mm-hmm. So you got to really look at the other side and say, you know, they're pretty good on offense.
They're going to win some games.
Oh, they're going to win a lot of games. And to come out and do what we did in the second half after giving up 23 points in the first half was remarkable. The only other thing I thought was the one year we played Catawba here in the lightning storm. We couldn't stop them to save our life. We had the delay with the lightning storm. We come out and pitched a shutout in the second half.
Amazing.
But, you know, we didn't need the lightning storm this time, I guess. But Smitty and those guys, tremendous job. Just not panicking, not getting away from what we do, and just making some adjustments here, you know, in a couple different spots. It wasn't like a total makeover.
Yeah. Speaking of adjustments, probably going to have to make some, giving up a lot of yardage on returns. Now,
Sure.
Irby was,
Yeah.
you know, you got to give him credit too. He's pretty good, but again,
Yeah,
they're getting good field position.
Yeah, the one kick return, the guy's a special returner, and they blocked it up. You know, you got to give them credit. Obviously, we want to cover the kick better, but they blocked it up. The other kick, I think they got at the point of attack, got away with a couple clips that weren't called, but that's neither here nor there. The punt return, our punter did a tremendous job. I mean, what he did for us to save us field position, especially in the second half, was unbelievable. So Nico was a huge part of it. But the one return they had in the first half, he's directional kicking it to the right, and that's why we're covering that way. And he kicked it, you know, he didn't mean to do it, but he accidentally kicked it to the left. And, you know, they got a special athlete with the ball in his hands, and our coverage is on the other side of the field. Mm-hmm. So, that, you know, that was like the perfect storm right there.
Yeah, Nico Ruiz, 47 yards the average. He'll get to go against his former mate, Stroudsburg.
Sure, yeah, that's right, next week.
Next week. Special time, the crowd was just tremendous. It was as large a crowd as we've seen in a long time. And I don't know if we've had a bigger crowd on opening night. It's been a long time.
It was great. Our players really appreciate it. We appreciate it. And, you know, when we started this thing, our mantra has been all in. And that, you know, that showed everybody's in. You know, we're talking about community members. We're talking about the university or donors who without their help, this doesn't happen. Not only was it great for our players and for our staff, but I think it was great for IUP in general and the Indiana community.
Yeah, East Stroudsburg's up next. Hall of Fame game, 4 o'clock kickoff. Was it good that East Stroudsburg came up with a win over Fairmont State? Probably better that a winning team comes in here, right?
I root for our teams in the PSAC every non-conference game. And, you know, Cal beat Ohio Dominican. Stroudsburg beat Fairmont. I think that's great for the conference.
Westchester won?
Westchester really beat one of the teams from the Northeast 10, so the PSAC stood up and was accounted for last night.
I know you don't take credit. You have a lot of people around you. You have players, you have great coaches, but congratulations on your first win. I hope they gave you the ball.
You know what? They didn't.
They didn't?
No. Well, that's all right. We'll maybe pretend that today's meeting was last night.
Well, in any event, but it was a great start, and it's going to be a challenge each and every week, isn't it?
Oh, it is. You know, you got to schedule, you know. My theory on the scheduling that first game, that 11th game, is if you're going to schedule one, schedule a good team. And that's what we ended up doing. I don't think it's a drop-dead situation where you have to play an 11th game, but if you do, it doesn't really do any good if you're playing somebody who's not very good.
Yeah.
And we brought a team in here that's going to be as good as anybody we play on our conference and on our schedule, really.
Yeah, they were legit. Hey, congratulations again. Good to be with you each and every week. We'll bring everybody up to date, okay?
Sounds great, Jack. Thanks.
Okay. Coach Paul Tortorella, we will be with you each and every week. It's next up, East Stroudsburg Hall of Fame game kickoff will be at 4 o'clock. We'll have all the coverage for you, radio, TV, right down the line. For the coach, this is Jack Benedict. Have a nice evening.